Hello, it's Fran from psychicandenergywork.com.au, and this is my monthly update for May 2024. How's your month going? Have you noticed a bit of a shift energetically, even on the manifesting and life supports me level? If you have, I wouldn't be surprised, and if you have, congratulations, you're in sync with the chart very much, because the last couple of months, March and April, were doozies. There were, not only from a numerological perspective, also astrological, as well, of course, real world events, which are driven by the first two. It's interesting because this month, whilst it still have zeros in the chart, and that is also an interesting dynamic because zero can often manifest as not enough solidity, surety, guarantee, whether that's about information, whether it is about things like cash flow, very important, yes, whether it is about other things. So when the zero count is higher, it can sort of do a person's head in, simply because things aren't predictable or as constant or as known as they have been. And so zero, of course, can represent nothing. I say this often, and energetically, spiritually, zero can introduce lessons about that as a concept. Is nothing actually nothing? Is what seems to be a lack of support or flow, is that actually the end of the picture, the totality of the picture? Is it just the surface of the picture, in a way that, you know what, no matter what lack or loss there seems to be right now, what's actually happening underneath the surface, underneath the layers of physicality and obviousness, in a way that when we remember these things, often just remembering and relaxing into that as a knowledge helps to see more things manifest on a more tangible level. It's not always the case, and of course there's a whole lot of reason why life presents in the way that it does, in a day, a moment, a second. But numerology really speaks of the dynamics that could be pushing buttons and or supporting a person on their journey in a very pleasant, delightful sort of sense. This month, May, still continues with a high zero count. And when I say high, I'm only talking threes and fours as a count. Three zeros, 4 zeros. But that can be enough, especially if you've got zeros in your chart personally. So if you don't know that, then give us a hoy and I'll have a look at that for you in a session. So zero, on another level, it is also the call to your spirituality, your spiritual practice as it suits you, as it resonates best with you. In other words, sometimes, as human beings, we can, I don't know how to say it, and no way am I trying to be derogatory here about other practices or individuals, but sometimes we as humans, when we don't really understand the world of energy, and at the end of the day, who really does, we can subscribe to models that sort of suggest, oh, well, you just do this and you just do that and something will shift. And of course, every model has its flaws. But sometimes life, the universe, will turn around in a way that it's trying to encourage us to let go of the models that we're embracing, not because they have no value, not because they're faulty necessarily, but just in that moment, the universe, which is zero, nothing equals everything, it can introduce moments that help us to relinquish our grip or our investment in our models, so as to give it the room to introduce itself to that next level and say, hey, I'm real, I'm here. Are you going to actually let me help you in the way that I need to help you specifically now? And therefore, are you actually going to make way for me as a very real, tangible, communicative being, entity, energy, force, whatever your words for these things are. So be really aware of that, because zero, in a sense, is the call to your spirituality, which, of course, behind that is the call to your intuitive connection, your intuitive guidance. Yeah, they're all one and the same. The other really nice thing about this month's chart is that the 3 count, the 4 count, and the 7 count are all above 3. Now, when a number manifests 3 or more times in a chart, its lessons and its themes tend to increase. Now, what does this mean? 3, 4, and 7. All of those numbers speak about the individual getting it to the next level. 3 could be seen as I understand, or I'm realizing things. Yeah, I'm starting to realize. 4 is the moment that the understanding really comes out of the realizing. In other words, on one level, 3 is the moment the light bulb goes on, or at least starts to flicker. Ooh, there's movement. You with me? Oh, I'm sensing a shift. Oh, I'm sensing it's okay. Don't really know what it's about yet, but hello, I'm starting to feel comfortable because I'm starting to feel and experience a breakthrough relative to where I've been. So that's the 3 count. 4 is the moment that awareness really blossoms. So 3 can be realized, light bulb going on, but 4 is the moment where the light bulb fully shares its information and its wisdom, the light bulb being the universe, your intuitive connection, and therefore download guidance. But also 4 is that moment where we go, okay, I understand. I can see what's going on now, and I can sort of see how to piece things together and pick up whatever tools and strategies that I'm going to choose or being guided to choose, and run with it. Now, on that aspect, 4 could be seen, well, you know what, if that's 4, then what else is there? But you see, 4, in a sense, it is the concept that is gleaned. It is awareness as it first births. In other words, it's awareness before the practical wisdom that comes from the implementation of the awareness that's just dawned. Yeah. So 7 is the moment that we really get things on a very practical level, and therefore 7 phases. They're periods when the universe really helps us get what we initially understood in a very practical way, in a way that there are no more questions, there are no more doubts, there's no more fudging it or faking it or, avoiding certain bits. 7 is, I've got it to the edges. I'm wise. I now know how it works, how life works for me on the aspect that I'm dealing with specifically, in a way that I can let go of all level of questioning, myself, others, flow, universe, life. And I can just get on and focus, because all of that energy that was originally put into angsting or tensing or trying to work it out or pretending that I had, all of that energy can now just be invested just in attaining the goals. You with me? Getting life done, moving forward. 4 is also the platform, the base, the foundations from which we launch every second on every level. So in other words, you could say they're the frameworks, the tools, the backgrounds, the supply even of everything that we then pull on and piece together to act and offer, share in the next moment, whether that's on an invisible level, verbal level, behavioral level, even energetic. So 4 can therefore be very much a time that helps us review these things. 4 is very much like the quality inspector coming in to do an audit, making sure that everything is as tight as it can be for now and moving forward, in a way that whatever bits on our landscape, they're no longer required, or they're now getting in our way, or perhaps we never needed them but they were hanging about anyway. 4 is very much a period of review, sort it out, get organised, get your plans in order and your strategies in order to that next tight level for now, so then launch with all that. So why do I say these things? Because also within that, 4 is the builder. So in one sense, and 3 is the manifester. So 3 is very much a lesson that is about, what flow's real. Energy is real. Life is energy. Life is flow. Is the human being, us, each and every one of us, allowing flow to be what it is as an objective, good spiritual event, rather than allowing our mind, which can be 7 in imbalance, to put biased or limited slants on what's happening in a way that leads us into tension and negative. And of course, we all do that. On a regular basis. That's part of being human. You're never going to kill it. You can only mentor it a little bit better and harness it perhaps a little bit better in the seconds moving forward. So what am I trying to get at? If I couple the fact that 3 can be very much about learning to live with flow, learning how to manifest. Manifesting is a really interesting word, isn't it? And it's a really interesting field of development and practice I don't know how to say it, in one's spiritual development, because, of course, there's lots of models out there that are about how to manifest, what you need to do to manifest. And, of course, again, they're all valid for the level they're at. Yeah, and that's not me saying that my models are better than everybody else's. Yeah. So if there's a trouble with manifesting, though, especially in very loaded or spiritually loaded phases like the one we're in this year and like the one we've been in, or the ones we've been in for the last few months, manifesting at times can be a lesson in let go of everything you know about manifesting and allow flow. So in a sense, because everything is flow, and part of our role as manifestors is to receive, not only to picture or will or inform or project management or do, whatever those words are. And none of those states are wrong, are they? They're important. They're a part of the process of creation. We are, after all, partners with the universe, not just, shall we say, couch potatoes watching things. Well, we can be, but we're not supposed to be. So what am I trying to get at? Sometimes we can know too much about manifesting. Sometimes the models can encourage us into that stance in a way that is about, you know what, picture this and build that image and keep that image in your mind, or as an affirmation, or even as an instruction to the universe, which of course affirmations are, in a way that almost suggests, well, hang on, if you're not doing that on a constant basis, then quite possibly you're not going to manifest well. And implicit in that, on a very subtle level, is the assumption that, you know what, maybe Source didn't hear you the first time. Maybe Source needs a reminder. It's interesting because, and I have said this before, so sorry if this is repetitive, but affirmations on one level, they're not there for the universe to hear. They're for us to get. What does that mean? An affirmation works for the time that it helps the individual release their limitations, perceptual, and their assumptions, their projections about themselves, about others, about life, about manifesting. Yeah, even about attainment and success and goals, achievement. So these things, they're only useful for the time it takes for the individual who is working with them to really get them on a felt flow creating and flow embracing level. They're not there or bear with me, they don't need to be there as in instructions for the universe. Why do I say that? Because frankly, and I mean, obviously it depends on your model, doesn't it? But frankly, the universe already knows what you're capable of having, doing, being. It's already put that deposit into your bank account. So it already has those things in train. That's not the issue. It's whether the individual is tapping into, yes, the universe, but also into the interface of flow in a way that allows that flow rather than inhibits it. Sorry, I will speak properly in a minute. That in itself is also interesting because, of course, we know what we know, and egoic self is a very knowing being, just as a spiritual self can be, but they happen from very different angles. Egoic self knows in a way that its banter, its internal silent chatter, is continually whirring in the background, whether that's very loud or very subtle. Egoic self is always operating from I know. Yeah, in a way that it projects. But you see, and that may be a really great projection, but the projection at the end of the day, it's limited because egoic self is never going to be source. It's never going to have all the wisdom that the source, universe, whatever you call it, has. And so on one level, when we're talking about manifesting, and therefore when we're talking about realizing and embracing flow, 3, when we're talking about working with healthy frameworks with solid foundations in a way that allows awareness, 4, and coming to wisdom, you with me, 7. Implicit in that is the need for the individual to let go of all they know, and therefore come into a place where I do not know 100%. I don't know a thing right now in this second. But also, I don't grip a thing and nothing grips me. In other words, I, the individual, whoever is doing this, they can't sense any outside dynamic any longer. They do not resonate, or they're not resonating with a dialogue, a narrative, words. They don't still have soundtracks running through in the background, be they visual or audio. Egoic self is a very good compiler of soundtracks. It's also very good at collecting things in a way that, in a sense, we all can get to positions or places where we're no longer stillness. We're no longer, somehow there is a level of noise that's running through. And for some people at the moment, that's just a sense of, you know what, there's static. I feel buzzy. You know, in a way that it's a state that is outside the self, even if it is also experienced within the self. So what am I trying to get to? Again, in a sense, I'm trying to get to the fact that manifesting, full manifesting, only comes when we 100% release of all we know, all we affirm, all we project. And within that, of course, all we fear, all we doubt, all we get negative about. Because at the end of the day, of course, creation is infinity. Possibility is infinity. And egoic self, being egoic self in anyone, in any being, whether they're physical or not, egoic self is very much a limiter. It needs to box things. It needs to organize things into compartments and put fence lines around them. But the minute it does that, it's limited itself. So even if that fence line is incredibly wide, it is still limited. And so therefore, manifesting requires us to let go of all of our knowledge, not because we bin it, not because we reject it or devalue it, but we suspend it. We let it just float in the air for a minute to see whether it can morph and how it wants to morph in a way that is helpful, holistically helpful, healing, guiding, etc., etc. So within this is the exercise of, release work, letting go, using breath in through nose and out through mouth. We can do this at any time. We can do this even while we're doing other things, not because we have to. But at the end of the day, breathing out and letting all atoms move, letting all voices clear, letting all noise release, letting all tension go. You see how those words, those statements, they're not telling these, should we say, states or dynamics, they're not telling them how to move, where to move to. They're simply saying, I'll let you go, I'll let you move however you need to right now, so that everything falls into the right place on every level for everyone all at the same time. The more we're able to do that, the more we open up for a flow that comes from source, which of course is where it comes, rather than a flow that is only dictated by us because this is all we can imagine or affirm at the moment. So practice with that this month, because this month wants to be clarifying. It wants to be solidifying. It wants people moving more and more into that sense of, I am starting to move forward again. I am starting to build with everything that I've just learned and experienced in a really future enhancing way. We don't need to worry about whether source already has. where the source already knows, where the source can communicate, where the source is willing. The only time we need to worry about those things is if our model suggests that the divine, the universe, life, whatever we call it, is defined as that and that alone. So to the degree that that sort of, should we say, rings a bell for you in a positive or limited sense, open up again, use breath and release into infinity. Release into infinity in a way that, hello, there is no impossible in infinity because everything is possible. So release all notion of what is impossible. Release all your conclusions about what you may not be able to, what life may not be willing to, what the divine may not be capable of providing on any level. Open up all of these things. Come to a place, even if it is just a test, just you experimenting, come to a place where there is no limit, as a felt state, as a peace and quiet that is expansion energetically and felt. Because the more you can do that, the more you are moving into, only at that point, 100% ability, readiness, and willingness to receive all that the divine can drop into you right this second for everybody's sake in a way that moves forward healthily. So all the very best to you. I hope some of these words at least have helped in a way. Get in contact if you need a hand on any level. Go through to www.psychicandenergywork.com.au or you can call me 0413 525 114. Australia is the country number, 61, if you'd like to touch base. Thanks for tuning in for May 2024's monthly update from Psychic and Energy Work. Travel well, enjoy your month, build solidly, no regrets. I'll speak to you next month. Take good care.